So today I will be teaching about hydraulic pumps. So contents, we will be going through definition of pumps, type of pumps, and we will be focusing on centrifugal pump, that is detailed about it, that is working principle, different parts and its operation, work done, different heads and efficiencies. So coming to the definition, pump is a mechanical device which is used to move the fluid from one place to other. So in our day-to-day basis also we know that we use pump, which we call it as motor, to lift the water from the ground level to the first or second floor for our uses. So what it is doing, it is moving the fluids from one place to other. Next, it converts prime mover energy to mechanical energy. So this prime mover energy comes from moving part of the pump, which generates the energy from the electrical energy which we provide to the pump. So it converts mover energy to mechanical energy, again the mechanical energy to hydraulic energy. So this hydraulic energy is in form of the pressure head which will lift the water from the top level. Now, what is the need of a pump? Why we need the pump? So firstly, we know that water flows from high pressure area to low pressure area. So when we need to flow the water from low to high pressure area, what we need some external energy. So using pump, we are providing some external energy which transfers the fluid from low pressure area to high pressure area. Furthermore, when we want to transfer liquid from lower elevation to higher elevation also, it is not possible without applying the energy. So we are using pump for this reason. So types of pumps. Mainly pump is categorized into two types: hydrostatic, which is also called as positive displacement, and hydrodynamic. As the name suggests, hydrostatic and dynamic. In hydrostatic pumps, what happens? It considers a particular portion of the fluid and it works on a particular portion of the fluid and it lifts the fluid to further higher level. Whereas in the hydrodynamic pump, it works continuously throughout the fluid, it don't work on a particular fluid. Now it is again categorized into two types, rotary and reciprocating. So as the figure we can see that this is a rotary pump. Here the lifting of a portion of the water is or fluid is occurring by the rotary action. These are rotating. Whereas in reciprocating pump, this is a piston. This piston moves back and forth and reciprocates. While moving back, water will lift inside it, and while moving forth, this lifted water will force to the delivery pump. So it is a reciprocating pump. Again, the hydrodynamic pump is divided into centrifugal and axial. So in centrifugal pump, water enters into the pump axially but leaves the pump radially. Whereas in axial pump, both water enters and leaves the pump axially. Coming to the centrifugal pump. As I said, pump converts the mechanical energy to pressure energy or hydraulic energy. When the process behind the conversion is centrifugal action, then we are calling it as centrifugal pump. So what happens here? The flow is radial outward direction. So in this figure we can see water is entering from here and leaving from here. So the water is leaving in radial direction to this instrument. So due to this radial direction, centrifugal action is occurring and we are calling it a centrifugal pump. Now working principle. It works on the principle of force vortex flow. What is vortex flow? It is a flow of water or fluid in a curved path. Okay. What is force vortex flow? When some external torque is required to make the flow, make the water flow in a curved path, then we are calling it as force vortex flow. So as we are applying energy to the pump to rotate it in a radial direction, we are calling it as force vortex. The main working principle behind it is force vortex flow. We can also call it as mass of the liquid rotated by the external torque causes rise in pressure head of the rotating liquid. Now this rise in pressure head can be denoted as V square by 2G, where V is the tangential velocity. So here it is rotating, this is the inner radius and this is the outer radius. So the tangential velocity will be both in inner radius and outer radius. And tangential velocity is directly proportional to R, as V is WR. So in inner radius R is less, outer radius R is more. So while coming from inner to outer radius, R is increasing, which is causing V to also increase. So pressure is also increasing. So while coming outside of this portion, the pressure will be very high, which will lift the water from lower level to higher level. So different parts of centrifugal pump. There are 4 parts. First is impeller, casing, suction pipe and delivery pipe. So this central moving region which moves inside a pump is called impeller, and it is connected with a shaft, and that shaft is again connected with a power system from where the pump draws the power. Now second is casing. This moving part that is called impeller is covered by a airtight casing, and this casing also helps increase in convert the kinetic energy of the liquid to pressure energy. I will be coming on it little bit later. Now coming to suction pipe, this is the suction pipe which draws the water from the sump, and that is from where the water need to be lifted to the center of the impeller, which we also call it as eye of pump. Okay. Now at the bottom of the suction pipe we need foot valve and strainer. Foot valve is a one-way valve which allows water to flow inside, but the reverse direction of water flow is not possible. Now strainer, as we all know, to strain all the impurities in the water. Now coming to the delivery pipe, after pumping it, this delivery pipe helps us to connect the outlet of the pump to the point where we need to deliver our water. Okay, and this delivery valve is also one-way valve which prevents the backflow of water in this delivery pipe. Okay. Now casing, how it is converting kinetic energy to pressure energy. In this figure we can see from here to here the area is increasing. Okay, and we know that continuity equation is AV equal to constant. Okay, so we see area is increasing. Area is increasing means velocity is decreasing. Okay. Now again Bernoulli's equation says that P by rho g plus V square by 2g plus Z equal to constant. Okay. So we are considering this portion of the pump where Z is same, so Z will be 0. Okay. Now here we saw V is increasing as A is increasing, so V is decreasing. So when V is decreasing, it will be constant. So this term will increase. Okay, this is the pressure term, this is the kinetic term. Okay, so it is converting this kinetic term to the pressure term. Now next, the velocity triangle. Now here we see this portion. This portion is a zoomed. We are zooming a small portion of the impeller over here. So this is the impeller blade, and impeller is moving in this direction. Now this is the inner radius, this is the outer radius. Inlet we are denoting as subscript 1, outlet we are denoting as subscript 2. So R1 is the inner radius, R2 is the outer radius. Now what happens, we are saying that the flow is radial. Now this is the absolute velocity of water V1 flowing. Okay, so we are calling it is radial. Let's see, it is radial. Now what happens, this is also moving in this direction, so it will also have a velocity. So in this portion, let's say this is the tangent in this portion. So to the impeller at the inlet, it will also have a tangential velocity in this direction. So U1 we are denoting as tangential velocity at inlet. Okay. Now this is the absolute velocity of water, this is the tangential velocity of impeller. So the water will actually enter inside the impeller with the relative velocity of U1 and V1, which we are calling it as VR1. Okay. Now it is entering in a relative velocity of VR1 here. Again it will leave in a relative velocity of VR2 over here at the outlet. Now again here also in the direction of the tangent we will have tangential velocity of impeller in this direction. Now the tangential velocity we can note it as pi dn by 60, where n is the rotation RPM, rotation per minute of the impeller. Now it is directly proportional to d. So for inlet d will be lesser, for outlet d will be higher. So U1 will be lesser than U2, or U2 will be lesser than U1. U2 will be more than U1. So this U2 will definitely be more than U1. So we have drawn it U2 over here. Now the absolute velocity we can denote when we join these two, we can get the absolute velocity, that is V2. Okay. Now again important thing is this v, which is the absolute velocity of water, can be divided into two components where this is the theta. So v cos theta, which we also call it as wall velocity, denoted by Vw, and v sin theta, which we also call it as flow velocity, which is Vf. Okay. So here what happens? Here we assume we said that it is entering radially. So to this tangent it will be 90 degree. So if it is 90 degree, this angle will also be 90 degree. So there will not be any sine component here. There will not be any cos component here. Okay. So it is also V1 will be equal to V sin theta or Vf1. Okay. There is no wall velocity over here at the inlet. But when we see the outlet, this is V2. When we find the components of V2, this will be Vf2, that is flow velocity, and this will be wall velocity. Okay. Now what are these angles? Alpha and beta are the angle between V and U. Okay. So for inlet it is alpha between V1 and U1, and for outlet it is beta between V2 and U2. Fine. Then theta and phi are the angle between VR and U respectively for both inlet and outlet. That is, for inlet VR1 and U1 the angle is theta, and for outlet VR2 and U2 the angle will be phi. So next, coming to the work done. So work done in the pump is generally work done by the impeller on the water. So the work done per unit time, that is per second, or unit weight of the water striking is given by 1 by G Vw2 U2 minus Vw1 U1. Till now we are clear what are these velocities, Vw2 U2, Vw1 U1. Okay, fine. Then we are saying the water is entering radially. In that case alpha will be 90 degree. So if alpha is 90 degree, as I already said, the wall velocity will not be there in inlet. So Vw1 will be 0. So the term will convert into 1 by G Vw2 U2. Okay, fine. Then discharge of water. How much water is getting discharged by this pump? So discharge is area into velocity of the flow. Fine. So we can take area of the inlet into velocity at the inlet, or area at the outlet into velocity at the outlet. So here if you see for inlet, area will be circumferential distance, that is pi d d1, that is diameter, into, let's assume that width will be b1. Okay, for inlet. Similarly for outlet also pi d1 into d2 into b2. Okay. Now if you see the example, so it's saying internal and external diameter of the centrifugal pump are 200 and 400. That is, d1 is given as 200 mm and d2 is given as 400 mm. Okay. Then pump is running at 1200 rpm. So n is given as 1200 rpm. The vane angles of the impeller at inlet and outlet are 20 degree and 30 degree. So these angles theta and alpha are also called as vane angles. That is, angle between R and U are also called as vane angles. So in this question it is given theta and alpha. Theta is given as 20 degree and here alpha is given as, phi is given as 30 degree. Okay. Now water enters the impeller radially and the velocity of flow is constant. So alpha given 90 degree because water is entering radially. That is, V1 will be equal to Vf1 and Vw1 will be 0. Okay. Now it is also saying that radial velocity of flow is constant. That is, Vf1 equal to Vf2. Okay. Now they are asking to find out the work done. As we all know, work done is what? 1 by G into Vw2 U2. Okay, we have to find out Vw2 and U2. So U1 and U2 we can easily find out because U1 and U2 will be pi d1 n by 60 and U2 will be pi d2 n by 60. So d1 and d2 are given, we can easily find out u1 and u2. So I have given the value of u1 and u2, you have to try it yourself. Again, after finding u1 and u2, we can find out v1. So in this inner velocity triangle, theta is given, so tan theta will be u1, vf1 divided by u1. u1 we already know, we can find out v1. Similarly, v1 equal to v2, so we already know v2. Then using this triangle, we can find out vw2 because tan theta will be equal to vf2 divided by this distance, that is u2 minus vw2. Similarly, we can find out vw2. After finding out this, we already have this. Using this equation, we can find out work done. So I will ask you to solve it yourself. And again, just pause for a moment and solve this question also. The concept required in this question I will be covering later on. So this is the homework for you. Next, coming to the heads. So first is suction head, which is denoted as HS. So here, from the water level, sump level till the center line of the pump, we are calling this distance as suction head. Okay. Now for delivery head, from the center line to the point where water needs to be delivered, that distance we are calling it as delivery head. Now static head, the total distance, that is suction head plus delivery head, total we are calling it as static head. Now manometric head. See, water, that pump is made for 100% efficiency. Pump will deliver water up to a certain height. Okay. But in practical condition, that 100% efficiency is not possible. So in this case, pump will deliver less than it is supposed to deliver. Okay. So what is happening there? Losses are happening due to this moving part or rotating part of the pump. So when we consider these losses into the head, then we will find out the manometric head, which is denoted as the head imparted by the impeller, which we already found out over here. That is the actual head minus losses, whatever losses the pump incorporated while operating. Okay. Then it can also be denoted as total head at outlet minus total head at inlet. So we already know total head at outlet is pressure head plus velocity head plus datum head. Similarly, minus at inlet pressure, velocity and datum head. Similarly, one other formula over here, we can also find out static head plus dynamic head plus losses. Okay. So what are the losses it may incorporate? Main losses is the friction loss. We have two pipes over here, friction pipe, suction pipe and delivery pipe. So we have friction loss in suction pipe and delivery pipe similarly. And lastly, the velocity at the delivery pipe also we are considering it as loss, because here we will have higher velocity, but if you abruptly stop the delivery till here, the velocity is getting lost over there. That's why the velocity is also considered as loss only at the delivery pipe. Now efficiency. So first is manometric efficiency, which is denoted by manometric head divided by head imparted by the impeller. So manometric head, just now I told you, which is denoted by HM and which already told the formula of HM. Now head imparted by the impeller also I have told that in the previous section, that is work done by the impeller, which is VW to U2 by G. So when we divided these two, we will get the manometric efficiency. Second, mechanical efficiency. So mechanical efficiency is power at the impeller divided by power at the shaft. So the power at the shaft will be given in kilowatts. So how to find out power at the impeller? So power is what? Power is work done divided by time. Okay. So work done will be work done by the impeller for the total weight of water per second. Okay. Because here. So work done for unit weight we have VW2 U2 by G. So for total weight, what we need to multiply W to this. So we have to multiply W. So this is in watt. When we convert it in kilowatt, we have to divide it into 1000. So this upper portion will come, power at the impeller. Then power at the shaft will be given. Lastly, overall efficiency, which can be found out by dividing total output of the pump divided by power input to the pump. So this can also be found out by multiplying manometric efficiency and mechanical efficiency. So these two formula, when you multiply together, you can get the overall efficiency. So thank you. This is all for today's class, and I want all of you to solve the questions I have given, and if any doubt you can contact me.